mine is unfortunately in refrigerated stuff. So I don't know, to start off with a refrigerated product, how fast can I scale up with that? Because the shelf life is, the shelf space is fierce.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get started. Once again, for those of you that have been here, and those of you that are new and we haven't seen so far, my name is Jeff Kikel. I'm the CEO here at T-Werx Coworking and the co-founder. We are a local shared workspace for small businesses. We have about 52 to 55 small businesses that work out of our space in varying degrees, everything from offices to open workspace. That represents about 65 total employees.
Very pleased, also very work actually.
Well, that's the other part. I didn't want to go there, but I mean, some of us come here to play, others come here to work. So we are a host of Small Business Festival. Small Business Festival started a year ago here in Austin, literally on a whim. It was thrown together in a period of about 30 days. And as a result of that, it ended up being listed as the top, or the number 3 business festival last year in the country by Inc. magazine. So huge notice right out of the gate. Last year there was about 30 of these type of presentations around town at 4 different facilities. This year we have 60 of these presentations going on in 12 different facilities. Sponsorship by Microsoft, who came in big. Microsoft is actually going to be live streaming the content tomorrow and Friday all over the country to 18 different Microsoft stores around the country. So this is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Our sponsors are the City of Austin and Capital One Spark. And the benefit of that is by them helping to sponsor this, it allows us to provide these type of events for free to you so that you can come and learn how to run your business better. So please make sure that you thank those folks. Survey-wise, we would like to see if you please do a survey for us. smallbusinessfestival.org/survey. If you will do that, that'll help us to know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see for this next year. And the premium content. So the premium content starts later today and goes through Friday. Downtown, there's several events tomorrow, internationally known speakers. There's still tickets available, smallbusinessfestival.org/premium. You can go on there and buy tickets now for half off. If you choose, like some of us, not to drive over 620 and head south, we will be live streaming the content here tomorrow. And we'll have lunch both Thursday and Friday for you, and that's actually sponsored by Jesse Walls of the Walls Insurance Agency here, a commercial insurance agency that is based here in T-Werx. So please thank him if you have a chance. He's usually sitting out in the middle section out there. Thank him if you can for sponsoring the lunch today. This has been my most exciting thing all week long. I've been anticipating this the most because one of the things that I wanted to show is the challenges that you face being a founder of a business. I can relate to this. A year ago, T-Werx was a big empty building with stuff sprayed on the ground. And coming up with a whole concept and a brand and then trying to get that brand out there is very, very difficult. And I've also got 3 of my friends here that will also be able to share some of those trials and tribulations and what drove us to do what we do. So this is going to be a fun time. So that said, let me introduce my friends here. So first I have Ryan Anglen with Whitestone Brewery. So if you've never been to Whitestone, just straight down 1431 to the Rail Yard Shopping Center, and he's in the back right corner, so the northwest side of the complex. I have Kim Stanley with Downsize Your Home, and then Ryan Coover caramels. Yep. And if you haven't gotten them, back there in the back, Ryan brought some caramels. He's had them here all week, and we've had to slowly dole them out because they keep disappearing quickly. So if you haven't had them, they're another food group in and of themselves. I also have my friend Patricia here. Patricia Selmo is what's called a graphic reporter, and that's what her business is. So she founded this business, and what Patricia does, you're going to actually see happening throughout this. You want to tell a little bit about what you do and how you do it?
Sure, it's one of the things I do.
Yes.
But, so basically this is really awesome during some kind of, usually it's like a leadership retreat, people will hire me for those, but it could be any kind of a meeting where you really want engagement from the audience and people to be kind of participatory, paying attention, or like a keynote speech. You've probably, maybe if you've been to South by Southwest, or you might have seen it, or on the TED Talks.
Yeah.
So it's just basically I'm taking notes of what's happening in the room, and it's live and in color, and hopefully helps you just kind of not only hear what's happening auditorily, but also kind of see what's happening visually for those of you that are visual learners, and hopefully helps you recall better and kind of comprehend better what's being said. And then at the end of it, I usually do like an electronic copy of this, so there's a takeaway for people that were in the room. They can kind of glance back and remember what had happened that day.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. And I have some pre-prepared questions. Certainly, this is open for y'all to ask questions as well. That's why they're here, is to really help you to understand, especially if you're new and thinking about starting a business. They're going to be here to tell you the fun that it is to get started and figure this out. So why don't I start off, and I'm going to start ladies first. Kim, why don't you tell us the story of how you founded your business, Kim?
It was 9 years ago, actually, when I conceived of the idea for my business. I was a rookie realtor at the time, living in Columbia, Missouri, and I had the opportunity to represent an upscale condo development, and it was really attractive to retirees, baby boomers, empty nesters. So I would go and sit there on the weekends, and people would come trailing in, and they would love what they saw. And I'd visit with them, and I'd say, okay, so how can we make this happen for you? And tell me about your situation now. And I literally would see their faces just fall. They would go, well, I have this huge house, I have all this stuff, I have so much clutter, I've got 20 years of belongings, I don't even know where to start. I heard that over and over again, and I would stay in touch with them. And I found out over the period of several months, it's not that they went somewhere else to buy a home, it's that they didn't do anything. I just found they were literally stuck with their stuff. It was very frustrating to me. So I kept thinking, well, there's got to be something out there, some hands-on tool that can help people get started on the downsizing process, make good decisions, move forward with their lives. And so I started researching, and I couldn't find anything. I found a couple of books here and there, but nothing that really gave people that step-by-step process and hands-on help that they needed. And about the same time, I found out my mother, who was living in northern Iowa, very healthy, health-conscious, organic food woman, 15 years younger than she really was. We discovered all of a sudden that she had terminal brain cancer. So she went from very healthy to terminally ill, in my mind, like that. So it rocked my world. And went up to get her, brought her back down to Columbia for tests, because they've got a great oncology department, and never took her home. We took care of her in our home over the next several months. And so I got a hands-on experience in being a caregiver and taking care of your parent. And afterwards, after she passed away, then we went back up to northern Iowa to liquidate her assets. And as an only child, it was kind of up to me, and with the help of my husband, which I could not have survived without it. We did this. It was really, really difficult, just making the decisions about what to keep, what would she want me to have, what was worth something, what to do with the home, what was the best course of action. And it was exhausting, took several months. And after those two experiences, I said, nobody should have to go through this. You have to go through it, it's always a challenge, it's never fun, never easy. But there's gotta be an easier way. I couldn't find it, so I came back home, and out of my frustration, I created it. I wrote a 50-page guide, workbook, step-by-step process. I created an actual physical toolkit with all the things in it that you need to start the downsizing process, make good decisions, move forward. And then one morning I woke up with this idea about this nationwide network, and it just kind of downloaded into my head. And it scared me so much that I said, I can't do that. That's not me. And I stuck it on the shelf. I continued my real estate business, partnered with another woman, became successful, and we used it with our clients. But I was afraid to share it with the world. Fast forward a few years, Jack and I moved here in 2012 and started a real estate business from scratch again. And it just kept tapping me on the shoulder. And so after a few more years of that, I finally asked myself a key question, which I'll talk about later, and made the big decision to leave a very successful real estate business and go full-time into serving others by helping them make good decisions, create a smaller living space, liquidate their parents' assets, and also market my toolkit. That's my story. Sorry if I took too long.
Cool. Yeah,
No, it's great.
Ryan Coover.
Yeah, it's quickly architect. Wanted to be an architect since I was 5th grade, so I worked my whole life to become an architect. And then we got kids. So, my wife's in the medical field, she's a PA, and it's like, these kids need something, so I gave it my career to be a stay-at-home dad. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life, because you work so hard to do something since I was younger. And well, I say it's hard because as a father, you don't have a lot of moms to run around with, to kind of work through being alone with a child. But the joy you get from raising those kids is amazing. And so on my Facebook, there's my 3-year-old daughter just eating the Karen Hall. And this is before we ever thought about selling the Karen Halls. I mean, they didn't know about money or anything. But as you raise these kids, you buy them stuff, and they're using this credit card. Because, back when we grew up, it was cash, and we understood money. So my kids kept asking to buy stuff. So I'm like, dang it, you guys gotta learn how to, make some money. So I said, instead of a lemonade stand, let's do caramels. So we're like, okay, we make the caramels, we do some research on how to wrap it, and then I take it to this place to figure out what kind of packaging, and so we came up with, they had a cup with a little lid on it, and then we said, let's come up with a graphic, so we came up with a graphic, the little C, it says Coover caramels, and we sent it off to Etsy for someone to make us a little handmade stamp, and then we'll print a little thank you on it. So we were actually printing cups to make this little project. This 1 week, 2 week project maybe at the most, right?
Famous last words.
So it sells, the first batch sells out, 8 pounds, So then I'm like, okay, let's do 2 batches this week and we do it again. And then they take it to children's classes and I take it to a cross race, a bicycle race, and it sells out. And then in that process, somebody took one of these pieces to a company, and it was in October, so they were getting ready to give out as gifts. So they said, hey, can we have 140 of these cups? I'm like, oh my God, that's like 8 batches. And these caramels are good because it takes 3 hours of stirring and cooking to make them. Most caramels, 45 minutes to an hour. So for that whole week, I was cooking caramels and wrapping and cutting and all this. This muscle here from stirring for 3 hours just got there compared to this one, And it's like, so after that week, we finally filled the order, and I told my wife, oh my God, we need to get some help. We need to hire kids. And she's like, we can't hire kids. You're going to get sued. You'll be like, oh, we need to. And so to be able to go to the next level, I put out a post to hire all the neighborhood kids that do yard work or whatever. I just said, hey, you guys want a job? And I did that on Friday. They all showed up Saturday morning, and my house, like 15 of them. And I laid out the caramels. I said, this is what we're going to do. Because you could still do this as a cottage industry because you can sell directly, and that's all we were doing. So I just need help wrapping. I want the kids to come together and talk about life, to wrap caramels and talk about life. Because growing up, I worked, and that's the joy that you get when you work with other kids. I mean, I'm sure we all worked when you were little, but you talk about life, you talk about issues that happen at school or different things. It was really dynamic. And so I just told the kids, there was no smoking, there was no doing drugs, you gotta wear your hat, you gotta get your food handler's permit. I said, we also weigh you in and weigh you out so we can monitor what you eat, and they're like, and so I'm just kind of feeding them all this stuff, and they're like, Timmy? And then they're in mind like, can you really weigh us? So it was really just having fun. And so when that happened, I started talking about it on Facebook, and then other people started ordering it. So within 4 weeks of starting, people are buying it, and I'm just trying to collect money through PayPal, and then I'm reading the laws, and now I need to, it's not a direct sell. So by law, I have to be in a commercial kitchen. So now it's find a commercial kitchen. Then I need a bigger pot. I can't put sugar in these 8-pound pots. So then I found this company in Ohio, 28 years of making fudge in these grown kettles. These kettles are like $45,000. I don't know, $45,000 for new. They had never used eBay in their lives, and they had posted this kettle with a mixer on it. And I did some research, and there's this French guy that makes caramels recommended this kettle over some other ones. So as an architect, I do lots and lots of research. So I always use the internet to do those things. And here we are, we have a larger kettle, 28 years old. I got it for $3,500, and I'm ready to start going. So now we're in a commercial kitchen, still hand wrapping, still hand cutting. So that's, those are more to the story, but that's, I'll pass this on.
Nice teaser.
Yeah.
Ryan, other Ryan.
Yeah, I wish you would have let me go first while these two. So I definitely know the tapping that you were talking about on the story. It's kind of the end of my story, of how I ended up in beer. But I still ask myself every once in a while, how did I end up in beer? I come from software for 12 years, the majority of my career. But to even rewind further, so I'll try to make a very long story short, but I grew up working from the time I could hold a broom. I was raised on a 400-acre dairy, and my grandfather had me shoveling poop out of a manure barn. So I, up to 15, 16 years old, I did various trades and things like that. I wanted to play football since I was a kid. Sort of a blessing in disguise. When I was 21, I was diagnosed with stage 4 skin cancer. I was en route to play college football and doing a transfer, and long story behind that. But that kind of turned my world to sort of shift gears and look at what I really wanted to do as a big boy adult. So when that hit, I kind of, football was an afterthought, and I went to a trade school. I already kind of knew about computers and would fix computers as a hobby, and went to a quick trade school to get a degree, because at that time it was right after 9/11. Job boards were nil. Ended up moving down to Santa Barbara, California, and getting on with a startup company, and 3 professors out of UCSB started this great software company. It was a new marketplace. I got lucky, got on with a tech job. The next 12 years of my life were kind of routed through that. Very successful in software, but what software sort of did for me was, we were revenue generating. I had a team of implementation engineers around the world. I could travel and things like that. But you see these regime changes, and it quickly became a corporate structure. So the short story to that is that the corporate grind kind of wore me out. Wore the suits every day, and probably in year 8 of those 12 years at that software company, I said, there is no time in the day. When I'm ready to mentally take off, my guy in Australia is waking up, and there was just no, we wanted to start a family, and so all those pieces were coming together. I also had a recurrence of the cancer at 25, so this whole 10 years of my life was just this kind of, it was a grind, but I was the whole time trying to figure out what I wanted to do long term. So I started home brewing beer as a hobby, really to do exactly the opposite of software. And my garage quickly became a microbrewery, and just the way my mind works, things I scaled it very quickly. And you know, I was the favorite guy in the neighborhood giving away free beer. And it's right down there. Yeah. Bigger garage. So, you know, I played around with business plans. I kind of did it as a passive hobby to a certain extent, and they die out. You right into the marketing strategy, and well, this one just kept going, and I got to the end of it. Industry kept growing. Hit a little recession in 08, but it, you know, even in a bad economy, I'm going, beer sells. People like to drink even when they don't have money. So, you know, from a business perspective, I'm looking at more. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, on my brain, I started to build a time frame of an exit strategy to something that I see myself doing, having fun with, building a business. And, you know, most importantly, I have 2 young daughters, so it was a matter of sort of setting up a financial future for them in a growing industry. So, ironically, my exit strategy there were no big surprises. It sort of played out how I thought it would. So I slowly had investors coming to me, which was another reason why I made the jump. Otherwise, I probably would have, you know, paralysis by analysis and kept it going. So in 2014, we signed a lease on the property over here, and at that point, it was real. There was no turning back. So, you know, brewing beer is a very capitally intensive business, so it took a lot of time to get it going. It was about a year to build out the property and just get all the pieces in place, and I'll talk a lot more about that. But fortunately, with the software company I worked for, it was a very remote job, so I was able to kind of financially fuel that build out and everything, and take my job up to literally the day that I opened the brewery. Not many jobs that you can do that, so I was very fortunate in that respect. So, yeah, 1/1 of last year we opened up, and I quit my other job, and they actually gave me a very generous package to stay. I was like, no turning back now. I'm kind of past that point, so unfortunately. So yeah, opened on the first year last year, and it's been kind of gangbusters ever since. It's been a pretty wild ride.
Very cool. So you should have told them that you were quitting a year before you were going to really
Yeah.
quit. They paid you more than
Yeah.
Exactly. That's that 2020 part.
I'll stay for 1 more year.
Yeah.
So I take that back. The exit strategy didn't work out.
Not exactly the same. So, Kim, what's your why for being in business? You kind of sort of told us.
Yeah. I'm a problem solver, and I just saw this huge problem that didn't go away. And everybody I talk to, almost everybody, has a downsizing story. Either, oh, I wish I would have known about you because I just helped my parents. And, you know, our aging population, 10,000 boomers retiring every day. But that just feels, you just see a tremendous need. So I just saw this tremendous need, and my initial fuel was, I wanted to list their house and sell their house, right? What every builder wants to do. But it grew beyond that to, I wanted them to reduce their stress, to reduce the family conflict, to help them feel good about the next in their lives. And especially people who are moving to senior communities, whether it's independent or assisted living. There's a lot of, that takes a lot of courage to make that move. It's the biggest move you'll ever make in your life. And kids don't understand it because they're so stressed out themselves. They just want it to happen. So I'm there to, and my staff are there to help make that transition smoother, to walk beside them and help them process their memories or things, and then to logistically make all those little steps happen for the family. And I just have a tremendous passion for seniors, for families, and also for the people who serve the senior industry, because there's a lot of obstacles that come into play when somebody's making that decision to downsize.
That's very cool. Mr. Anglen, what's your why?
A combination, I think. I've always had that entrepreneurial itch to kind of challenge myself in this, and I know a lot of people say that an entrepreneur is like a bad word nowadays, but it's always been sort of that, I've always kind of been a doer, so I hate complaining about things. I always say, well, before you complain, go and do it yourself type thing. So it was just always a gut entrepreneurial thing. So getting back to the home brewing, I said, you know, at the time when I started the business plan, I was 31-ish. It was kind of one of those, if I'm going to do it now, I'd either do it now or you're not going to do it. And then the beer aspect was, I saw beer very unique. Number one, I like it, so that's good. But beer is kind of an art. I mean, there's not many places you can start to where you're actually producing a product from the ground up, and I'm sure you know that. So it's, I saw it from that standpoint to be, you know, this can be really a representation of my personality and just something you can really be truly proud of from scratch, you know. So that was very intriguing to me. It was a long road to get there, but that's sort of the journey that I took. So.
Yeah, Jeff, you know, you've created this facility. You guys are giving back to the community, and I think that's such a huge thing that we all do when we open up a business. Whether you like it or not, you're providing service for people. And that's when I got to the making caramels with the kids. It was, you know, really to get them to, so they can earn $40 to buy their own Legos. But then, you know, once they have their $40, then to buy their Legos, and what do they really need in life? And that's really a question we should all ask ourselves. And to me, it's like, it's about teaching them how to be servants to humanity. And because you can teach anybody how to make money, but if you really want to fuel somebody, it's teaching them how to be servants. And with your kids and all this effort we put into our kids, it's important. So the slogan, life really can be sweeter. That comes from my work at Safe Place, or SAFE, which means Stop Abuse for Everyone. And they're one of the leading organizations in the country that helps fight this. And one thing as volunteers that we do when we work with survivors and clients of SAFE and Safe Place is that you see they go from this really dark, dark place that it's unfortunate that people even have to go there, but with a little bit of love and support, they are bright and they shine brighter than I can ever even imagine myself. And so this Life Really Can Be Sweeter is about what we do for each other. It's not just about the candy. And so we've done a lot of, my kids cannot donate or cannot go to Safe Place because of the private issues. Confidentiality, you have to be a certain age to be a volunteer there. So I try to think of how can I get them to serve. You know, we just want to go to the food bank and do the traditional stuff. So what we've done is in our packaging, we've created, this was the next rendition, we're putting stamps on it, stickers on it, and then this is actually a cup. But what we did is, I tell my kids, let's pass these, let's have an award, and we provide this. We see somebody in the community doing something great, and we give them this an award and say, you've achieved the Life Really Can Be Sweeter award. And it's amazing how much light shines on those other people. There was a police officer up in Round Rock. I was on a bike ride. It was hot, hot, hot that day, and they were doing like one of these event rides, and all these people were going by, and she just kept cheering people and stopping traffic and just encouraging everybody. And I mean, she was drenched and soaked in her uniform and all that, because she was still joyful for her service. So I found out who it was, went up and gave it to her, presented the award. She was just tickled to death. She cried. She was like, but when I posted it, she got like 160 other people writing these compliments about how great she was, that they might not have said that to her. And that to me is just like, when you can shine your light on somebody else, it's a beautiful thing. And so to me, it's not about the candy, but it's about what we do for each other. So I'm a sensitive guy, and I'm raw, but for me, that's the why. It's about teaching my kids to be servants. So at Safe Place, when we went through this 40 hours of training, and it's intense, there was one day where you learn the history of abuse, and as a male, there was 4 males in a room of 40 people. And it's hard. And you look at yourself as a male going, why in the hell? You know, you take a lot of stuff on your shoulders. And a lot of the people that are survivors themselves too, coming to be trained to give back. And I just started bringing food because they just had some crackers and stuff. You know, they didn't have a lot of budget. Because if one person is hungry in that group, we should all be hungry. If we really want to think that we're a community. And so the trainers told us that class just lifted to a whole nother level because we were all fed. We would come after work, come on the weekends. Some people couldn't afford food. Some people were taking a bus, you know, all these different things, and it just elevated. So you took away that one little thing. And so we fund that program, and we provide $50 for every training session. And somebody goes and they either buy food or they make their own food to serve other people. And it's elevated that program since 2013. Then Nikki helped us raise some money to paint the Eloise House. The Eloise House is a forensics place where survivors don't have to go to the hospitals now for rape tests and stuff. It's on the campus. So we beautified that. So we raised, with the help of the community, raised the money, then myself and some others painted it. Now, the next thing is we're trying to raise $1 million endowment. And it's to help inspire volunteer ideas. Because I think in any organization, the volunteers are the heart of it. They're there for a purpose. They've gone, whether you're planting trees or something, they might have an idea of how to make the program even better. And so I want to support those ideas. So we want to create an endowment where it's almost like an incubator of ideas to really bring from the inside out. So we're on this campaign to start this kind of movement. And it's a social thing. Some people say, you know, are you a business or are you a charity, you know? And we're one and the same. You know, we're a lifestyle business, but it's one and the same because it's really about inspiring others, just like others inspire me to be better. And that's what we're just trying to do.
That's awesome. So, Mr. Anglen, what was your biggest surprise about being an entrepreneur?
So many ways I can probably answer that question. I even feel like everything went fairly as expected with hiccups, but I think the amount of stress and to your point earlier, you know, I think business owners naturally can be a little bit controlling. You have to control certain aspects. So, you know, with this business especially, it's a very, you have to have an aspect of control, and I feel like I am out of control a lot. So it's kind of chaotic at times, and you know, I love hearing Ryan's passion because it's a big reason that I've sort of done, but I lose sight of that stuff. So I mean, I admire what you're doing, and I hope to be more active. I mean, we do a lot of donations, and like I said, I'm a cancer survivor. But I think the lack of control is probably and that might be relative, but to me, it's just, I'm flying by the seat of my pants more than I thought I would be. And then I think just the amount of relying on other people, you know, I've learned to release a lot of that control and just admit what I'm not good at and rely on the people that are really
Once you start learning that you can't do everything, or you shouldn't do everything.
So yeah, I guess the main answer to that would just be the difference in control that I thought I would have. Everything else has sort of been as I expected, but that has been the biggest release to me.
Right.
Another entrepreneur explained it the best. Is you imagine yourself out in the ocean, middle of the ocean, not an island, you can't even swim somewhere, and you're treading water. And then this wave comes and pushes you up, and you're like, oh man, look at this perspective, and then this other wave comes and pushes you under. And then you got to get back up, and you still got to tread water. It's like, there is no, I mean, when I grew up on the North Shore of Hawaii. Moray Boogie, the guy that invented the boogie board, was inventing it like he was renting a little shack there. I mean, he was giving us his prototypes, you know. I mean, I had like the first things to ride on. And I'd go out to the waves and, you know, you're like, oh, this is great. I'm in the ocean, and the wave comes and you're like, oh, this is wonderful. And then bam, you hit the hip, and it throws you around, and you tumble, and you hold your breath, and you got sand everywhere, but you've got the security of the sand. You know, you're like, oh, you know, like, this is great. And then you decide when you want to go back into the ocean. That's what regular life is like. Entrepreneurship is what I described, what this other one described. You're out in the ocean and you're still treading water, and you're like, I don't have any money. Oh, but you gotta keep treading, or I don't have any sales. I gotta be positive. It's like all this stuff.
I gotta buy a freaking $40,000 kettle.
I can't. Exactly. How am I gonna buy the kettle? Or there's regulations, or these rules, or things that will come down, or most people want you to succeed when they hear your story. But I've learned that 1% of those people could also cheat you and destroy you. And that's probably the biggest thing I've learned is you got to go with your gut, but also surround yourself with the people you really can trust. Yeah. And it's something you just learn. I mean, some people pay to go get the MBA. I've been paying to learn my MBA.
Yes. Sometimes it's a little bit more expensive.
Sometimes, yes. But you really learn.
Unfortunately, I don't think they really have a true MBA for being an entrepreneur, even though they say they do. So. Yeah, how about you? What's your big surprise?
Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. My husband and I have been entrepreneurs for years in different businesses. I have been on my own. Everything from a singing kilogram and balloon company to an advertising agency. So this is not my first rodeo, so to speak, but my biggest surprise in doing this, because this is the biggest thing I attempted to accomplish in terms of the hugeness of the dream that I was given, is how long it takes to brand yourself, and how easy it is to make the same mistakes over and over again, or the same assumptions that didn't work in the other 3 businesses that you had. So why did you think? My biggest one is always looking for the easy button. I'm going to find the fastest, easiest way to do this. And when I finally gave that up, which was really towards the end of last year, then I went, just dive in and slog it, tread the water. I mean, I was treading water anyway, but I kept looking for the lifeboat or the cruise ship to come by. And there is no cruise ship. And it's okay. And it's okay. My faith gets me through a lot of things. But the willingness to slog it through and to go, yes, branding takes a while, so you might as well jump into it now and take one little step at a time. And as I've been willing to do that and surround myself with other great entrepreneurs in this building, I'm seeing the momentum start to happen. But my biggest surprise was just how long it takes. And I'm creating a new category that doesn't exist right now. So.
Yeah. See, on top of all this, you have created something that didn't exist before.
I have a challenge, so that's
very cool. So we have out in the audience, because we'll be live later on next week, and in the room, some potential founders, some people that want to start businesses. What's your best advice for the future founders in the room? Because we're kind of a weird little animal to begin with. Ryan.
Maybe have a business plan. I think as you described about branding, you got to do everything. At some point you're going to have to brand yourself, at some point you're going to have a business plan, at some point you're going to have to make some decisions that you just want to throw off. People, when they go and buy real estate, they talk about how they just pull over and they throw up in their mouth, and then they go and they sign a contract and they go, what did I just do? But then 10 years later, like, that was the best thing I've ever done, I mean, it's like, so for me, I put your passion out there. Clark Orr helped me brand my company. He had designed a cup, ice cream cup, for Johnny Cupcakes, and they put their T-shirts in it. And I saw this on the web. So I did a lot of research. So use the web, talk to people. Like, he liked my message, he liked what I was starting out doing and believed in me. And he helped me brand it. I mean, he charged me for it, but I mean, there's other companies here that would have charged me a lot more, and I don't know if they really believed in what I was doing. So I think finding the right person that believes in what you're doing, you're gonna get more bang for your buck, no matter whether it's accounting or branding or whatnot. So I think that's the number one advice, I think, is just being people that.
And I would agree with you on that. I think that's one of the most key, especially when you're in an oddball business, like starting a co-working space in a town where nobody had ever done anything like that. Finding those people that get your story. Is not just a vendor, but somebody that gets why you're doing what you do.
And I called 15 different caramel companies. Within like 3 weeks of starting, like selling this stuff with my kids, I had talked to 15 different companies across the country. From bigger ones, I've talked to the owners of Lamb's Candy, to smaller shops that were on the news in Michigan and things like that. And I learned how these caramel makers all did them differently. You know, some of them were just open from October to January. That was their busy season, so they're like, you know what, that's the only time we're having it. And it opened up my eyes to that, you know, you can make the business how you want. You can be as busy as you want. You can try to, you know, or not be as busy as you want. And I thought that was really, really important to understand, because I don't have a business plan. I'm just kind of learning as I go. And but it's all coming together. As a creative, as an architect, someone that thinks creatively about the big picture, it's always there. I guess my plan is always there, and I'm just trying to work through it.
Sometimes we have to build the airplane on the way down. Right?
There's a few that I live by. Assuming you have your business plan and you're kind of in the trenches and you're already doing the business. For me, it was number one, learn to accept failure before you accept success, because that's a very realistic possibility, and I just think it's very difficult if you're fearful of failure. So that's number one, and I accepted that very early on. The second is, and I live this every day and I'm still figuring it out, but learn to live uncomfortably. The minute you get comfortable, depending on what market you're in, what product you're doing, you start to get stagnant and you start to have a tendency to get lazy. So for me, it's always, and again, this is not healthy, so I'm trying to find that happy medium, but it's really, I stress on everything we don't do well. To me, I have a tendency not to focus on the stuff we're doing well, and I have a tendency to focus on the stuff that's broken. So I'm working on that as a business owner and a people manager and all of that, but and I'm very appreciative of my employees and my people that do really good work, but there's always something, I'm always pushing them. The third is more of just kind of a life standard that I do, you can really translate it to business or your personal life. I've lived my entire life, you surround yourself around the people you want to be like. A business owner a long time ago told me that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I live by that. I think in the business world, it's very, very accurate. So it goes back to the people thing. You know, surround yourself around good people.
Yeah. Hang out with broke business owners, you're going to be a broke
business owner.
There you go.
So those are, I mean, I could probably give you 10, 15 more, but those are the 3 that always ring true to me.
Yeah, how about you?
Kind of taking that ball from it, I think that you can't be comfortable with uncertainty, so don't fool yourself into thinking you can, but it's always going to be there. Life is uncertain, so you have a certain level of uncertainty, but there's no sand when you're an entrepreneur, especially a beginning entrepreneur, and so you just have to know it's okay. I woke up today, I'm scared to death, okay, that's where I'm at right now, look at that, and just keep on going, and keep on putting one foot in front of the other. I'm a student of Tony Robbins, and one of the things he talks about is taking massive action. Whenever you feel uncertain, whenever you feel fear, take action. And it's the greatest thing to reduce that fear and that uncertainty. And you know, even if you're gonna fail, you're a step closer. You take action and you can move through it. But the biggest thing that I've started doing this year that has helped me, and most recently, is writing down all the things that you do right, all the things that are helping you feel at the end of every day.
I can learn from that.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist too, so recovering perfectionist, and so it's so easy to say, oh, I didn't get that done today. So look at what you did get done. Write down it, because you will, even if it's a little thing, you'll feel that you've made some progress, and it's that continuous sense of daily progress that is going to keep you treading water, keep you seeing the shore, and ultimately lead you, I think, towards the fulfillment of your dream. It's about the journey. It's about the lives you're changing, the people that you're meeting, the people that are changing you. And as I keep reminding myself, yeah, I got this big goal out here, but every person that I make a difference for, there's a success right there. So, I mean, it's one of those kind of feel-good philosophies, but you got to have a lot of those when you're an entrepreneur to keep going.
Probably the best advice I ever got from anybody was assume that you're going to make half as much and spend twice as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be
Hey,
pretty
Jeff, I wanted
good.
to ask, that anxiety thing is huge. I'm sure, the anxiety and then the fear and all that. So, because anxiety, if you don't take action, it just sits in your head and you just keep wondering. Like, oh, did I make that batch right? Is it going to taste right? Is it going to be like, or as you get older, your taste buds change, and maybe a lot of people add more salt. So I've had caramels from some older couples. I'm like, are the taste buds going bad because they're putting a lot of salt in here? You know what I mean? Because when you research this stuff, but yeah, if you have 15 things on your palate, I might have done 10 of them great, but 5 of them I didn't do well. I focus on that, and it's wrong. You're 100% right. So someone said, write the 3 things down that you were appreciative of today. Growing up, we played best and worst at the dinner table, and it's kind of like just the 3 best things that happened to you today. So I took this as an experiment. I wrote 3 stories on my Facebook blog, or my Facebook page, and I said, please share your 3 favorite things that brought you joy today. And it was awesome, because people did it, and I got to really see into their lives. It wasn't just a little blurb here, quick, blah, blah. It was like real stories of what they were doing, or how they enjoyed a certain time at school, and just like how you're helping. Like, you talk about helping people, but if we really heard those stories, it would be amazing. And it was so refreshing to see that. So Ryan, I wanted to say, you provide, I looked at your website, and you have all these benches and tables where people sit face to face, gather together. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you have instead of karaoke, you have a live story tell, and you come up and you tell us a story that helped change. And you can just imagine in a corner of your room, people talking about all this positiveness, because we all have it within ourselves. Yeah. And it's just wonderful when people share. I love hearing the story from
you've got a
some
community.
people.
You've created a community.
Yeah, and
just some ideas.
Yeah, no, and believe me, I'm always willing to take ideas. But one thing I would add to that, and that kind of is the basis for, again, what I'm working on personally, and not focused on my mistakes, but I have a philosophy that I've always pounded on everybody, and it's, I'm sure I have somewhat of an ego at some point, but I'll tell you the 15 things I do wrong before the 1 thing I do right, and that's just the way that so I tell every single one of my employees, check their ego at the door. The minute we start getting ego as a company, that's going to be the day that I sit there and say we need to change some things. So I think the lesson learned in that, and the advice that I learned from my software days was be willing to make mistakes. There's a lot of people, you'd be maybe not surprised, but so many people out there will not tell you. I mean, they do things perfectly, and they will not. So, for me with beer, when I hired my head brewer, it was extremely important the personality that I got, because that's an art. And if you guys know artists, they take extreme pride in their work, and it's never wrong. So there's a million personalities, and so it's a very candid conversation I had with him right away that, here's the way that I look at myself. I will make mistakes. I will tell you I'll make a million, right? But it's how I recover from those mistakes and what I do afterwards. And I expect the same thing from you. So I think as a new business owner, you have to be willing to accept mistakes and be happy with them. So I don't beat myself up for it. I move on pretty quickly, but I will focus on those. I need to learn how to balance the stress, but just from a business standpoint, I think, and maybe this is more industry specific, I don't know, but for me, I just couldn't imagine opening this type of business where you would focus on or beat yourself up for mistakes, because you really have to pivot and move very quickly. And otherwise you get bogged down. So,
Stick and move, stick and
yeah.
move. So Kim, what's new and exciting in your business right now?
Well, I had a realtor from Raleigh, North Carolina reach out to me a little over a month ago, found me on Facebook, and he's really focusing on downsizing people, and apparently, not people, but on people who are downsizing. Raleigh, North Carolina apparently is equal to or greater than Austin in terms of being a favorite retiree place in the country. So he has asked me to do a webinar. He's marketing it like crazy. He's spending all the money. I am the featured presenter, and it's an opportunity for me not only to work with a realtor who seems to really get it, but also to promote my remote coaching program. So I send my kit to that person, and through FaceTime or phone, we walk them through that process. And I've done it before, and it really works very well. So that's my big goal, and I'm really excited that this could help take my business and that part of my business that I want to develop to another level. So that's happening, and I'm turning my subcontractors into W-2s this week. Wow. It's a big, scary step, but I'm doing it. And I'm also hiring and bringing on board right now a part-time manager for my move management business, and she's really sharp and great, and I'm hoping to be able to grow my business enough that she can be full-time so that I can go and continue to develop the corporate side and the remote coaching side of my business and reach that big penny.
What an amazing story of jobs created in our community right there. So, when I first met Kim, she was a solopreneur. So,
Still feel it.
Mr. Anglen, what's up in your world here?
Yeah, that's what we
A
do.
couple things.
So, really from March 1st to now, it's been a whirlwind. Our business has been growing pretty rapidly. So, in the world of beer, it's you guys probably know this, there's several types of breweries. There's guys that open up an industrial warehouse and get on store shelves right away. We're a very small footprint brewery. We have a tap room focus, so very much on premise, and then a slow rollout of our product. But we will always be pretty hyper local. I really don't have any aspirations to be in other states or anything like that, and we'll see what happens. But with that being said, from March 1st, we hit this huge, unexpected kind of growth, and my control myself was like, oh, this is great, we're growing at the pace I thought, and then all of a sudden we just spiked. So with beer, that's hard because it's very predictive. It's not ready overnight, so you gotta, it takes 3 weeks from grain to glass. So growing pains, regardless of what they are. So that's all positive, but since March, it's kind of expedited all of my plans. We are expanding into an adjoining space. We're in a retail space, so fortunately the tenant next to us moved out. We grabbed the space, knocked a hole in the wall, and it's going to be production. And so, even today I'm waiting for a delivery of a massive cold box for more cold storage. We're opening a private vent space. Then in that time frame, fortunately, I had all the job descriptions that were planned for like July, August, and I just expedited those. So we're up to 14 people now. So it's relative, right? It's all small in the whole scale of things, but to me it's just a huge thing that it's good. The business is growing, but it's still, this is where my stress comes into, operating expenses go up, you're expediting everything. So the other aspect is simultaneously as we're expanding, adding employees, our rollout of going into cans, so 12-ounce cans, 6-packs, going into HEB. I've been working on that for the last 6 months, and we're approved. You got to get label approval through TABC, go through the corporate hierarchy of HEB, so it's a very time-consuming process. And through all of that, last night actually, like 7, I got the email that we have 20,000 cans that just came in, and there's branding and all that. So this has been a long, drawn-out thing. So all of this stuff happening at once, but yeah, our brand getting out on store shelves is kind of exciting. Not for a financial reason or anything like that, but it's just, you kind of take a step back and go, holy cow, it has me on the store shelf. What is that? So that's just, I'm finally getting to the point in the business where I go home at night now and I say, I mean, this is a lot of hard work that's kind of paying off. So it's not the finance or anything like that. It's a matter of we've actually built a product that's been successful. So yeah, all that stuff is exciting. I'm beginning to get to the stage of being proud. And, you know, I think all of my employees I walk in.
You've reached that stage where you go, hey, they really like me.
Yeah, maybe I'm a little less close to closing down. You know, it's like maybe we'll actually make this thing work. So, but the important thing for me is that, you know, success is no different than a sports team. When you're winning, everybody's happy. When you're losing, you know, it's pretty frustrating. You know, when you walk in and when you lead a group of people, you want them to be happy and have smiles on their face. Everybody's, you know, we're overworked and probably underpaid in a lot of respects, but everybody walks in and they're passionate about what they're doing. That means everything.
Hey, the definition of entrepreneur, you
Yeah.
work 80 hours a week for yourself. So
Yeah,
it's
definitely
gonna
not much money.
40 for somebody
None of
else.
us got in for that.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Mr. Coover, take us home, man.
Yeah, that's so. I guess the biggest thing for me is I'm getting a wrapping machine set up. I had in the process of getting a wrapper and a cutter to help with, so we can produce more basically. We can wrap as with 12 of us wrapping. We can do maybe 44 pieces a minute, which is seems like a lot, but it's not. When a wrapping machine will do 120 pieces a minute, and that's just one person operating. So, and that machine won't get tired. That machine doesn't have graduation or prom or anything else to worry about. And you know, the kids, yeah, exactly. So I'm in a
Doesn't gripe about getting up early.
It does not. No. So that machine is really going to be the pivot. I mean, we don't have loads of money just to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and just build facilities. So we're building it slowly and painfully. We don't have investors, and I've had some people come to me and ask if they want to be an investor, but I know I've just read that there's never a such thing as a silent investor, because when things aren't going well, they're not silent anymore. So I think we made the right decision in that realm. Last year was tough because we did get that 1% back to us, and we got cheated. So we were in the process of building a commercial kitchen for 2 years. So I lost 2 years of time and played lawyer for 6 months because I could afford a lawyer myself. But this year is about this pivot. This machine is, I worked on it for 2 months, over 600 hours. And I got to a point where I thought I was getting really good, because I got the part from England and I fixed it and this and that. And then there's this cam part, and I've never worked with my hands like this on this machine. But I learned this machine, and the guy in England's like, well, Ryan, you know, they could have pulled that cam from a different machine. I'm like, well, can you just send me a cam, you know, to get the timing right? He's like, no, you got to put some weld on it, and you got to sand it down. And so Josh helped me get some weld on it, and we sanded it down, and I got it back in the machine, and you know, a week we put it back together, and it's just not quite right. It always pulls paper. And there's another part of the machine that looks for the sweep. And if there's no sweep, it's not supposed to pull paper, but it was still pulling paper. So I'm calling the guy in England, I'm like, he's like, you know what? It's too much for me to come over there. I don't have my workshop, but you can send it over here. I'm like, send it 800, like a 3,000 pound machine to England? I'm like, how much is that gonna cost me? I'm like, but he's like, but Ryan, we get the timing right. We take care of it. We'll document that. If it ever wears out, you got another. And I'm like, okay, you take my money. So I'm on the phone. I'm trying to get it sent as quick as possible, because the decision was made, and we're going to move forward. You know, just like you said, you get to a point, and here we go. $700 just to move it out of the thing. Then to package it up, another $500. You know, and another $3,000 to send it. And then TSA is like, no, you're not an approved shipper. So you fill all this document work just to get it shipped out of the United States of America. And they're not going to tell you if it's going to be a week or 2 weeks or a month. So I'm like, well, 5 days go by. I'm like, what's the next option? Send it by a courier, cargo. So it costs even more. I'm like, well, just do it, you know. You gotta. It's like you know. That's when the ocean is like you're like looking at all these creatures down at the ocean have the little lights on them, and I'm like, I need a light, you know. Like I need to get back into the sunshine. But the good thing is it's there. They're going to update the wiring. They're going to update a motor. They're going to put some other OSHA things on it. They're going to do things I couldn't do. So as much as it was hard to accept that I couldn't fix it myself, and it's costing a lot, it's actually going to be better in the long run. And you know, it's something.
It's a hell of a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. I hope it's more than a Persian rug that you buy and you think it's an investment. So anyway, so that for me, this is the exciting part. You know, when you get this the caramel, we've done a lot of work in our branding. So these are these little mini packs that we're going to propose to hotels and whatnot. We're going to reach out to the airports. So we want to be a local brand that cares about stuff here. And so this year, once we get this wrapper and we can actually fulfill orders that might come in, or when they do come in, not might, we'll be ready for it. So that's the exciting part of our business. So we're on the edge of this year's make and market.
Nice.
So
cool. Well, what questions do you guys have for them?
All right, so for Ryan, I don't know how comfortable you would be answering this, but it would help us a lot. You talk very emotionally about being cheated, you know, and that affected you deeply. I guess, you know, that fear we all have some, you know, as a small business owner or as a, you know, going to start a new business. So if you could just highlight, like, to us in short, like what happened and what we could be aware of, or what steps we can take to not face a situation like yourself, you know?
Sure. So one thing that I talked with the Cedar Park City about the situation, and one thing of this whole situation was someone was signing documents that was supposed to be signed by the owner, but it was by electronic. And so I told the city, I said, if you have any of this happen, you should regulate that so this doesn't happen to other business owners, because like what I learned at Safe Place, not all men are abusers. You know, there's about 10 or 15% are, but what they do is they do it again and again and again. So it's like, how do you put things in place to help stop that? So I think for me, it's making sure you get a good lawyer to review any contract that you go into place with. So to not tell you directly what happened, but to answer the questions, is to get a good lawyer. You know, if you're looking to buy a property or something, have somebody look it over. You know, don't just take all the bells and whistles that someone's trying to sell you on. Brokers are not lawyers. They are not. You know, realtors are not lawyers. They are there to help look for stuff and they have a certain thing, but other people will give you some other advice. So that's my advice there.
Spend a couple $100 to avoid spending thousands later. Rashawn?
So one of the reasons many of us become entrepreneurs is because of family, because of making it better for our kids. And Ryan, you spoke a lot about how you've incorporated that into your business in a unique way that most of us can't do. The reality is you spend a lot of time working on your business, and you compromise that family time instead of realizing how great it is to provide for them. So how do you balance that now? Because you're probably doing 67 hours a week.
You bring kids up to work with you.
So, yeah, I mean, you'll see my daughters in the brewery a lot, and my hope is that you talk a lot about teaching you to, kind of learn the work and value and all of that. Well, that's been a big part of it. I just don't see that too much nowadays, and so for me, it's a matter of, even though I deal with alcohol, there's a responsible way to deal with alcohol. I want my girls to learn that from a young age, and hopefully they won't have any interest in beer at all when they get older. But
or high tolerance.
Yeah, exactly.
One way or another.
That would be our HR staff here.
Yeah. So, but for me, it's kind of a double-edged sword, and I'm 15 months in to 2 years or over 2 years if you count the build out. But my wife and I are still figuring it out. It's been rough. She's a much bigger part of the brewery than she thought she would be, where I anticipated her being. You know, I don't spend nearly enough time with her, so I'm still working through those things, but I've learned a lot. I mean, if you look at me last year to now, I mean, I'm better than I was, but for me, I have to be very conscious of finding that time. I can work all day if you let me, I mean, easily. So fortunately, I learned some structure in software because, like I said, my days were never ending if I let them be. So it's I have to tell myself, oh, you know, it's 7 o'clock now. I should probably go home and spend time with my daughters. My 6-year-old's getting into soccer now because my dad bought her a soccer ball, and so, you know, I just have to be cautious about, well, shoot, I got a 6-year-old that isn't in any activities. Well, that's my fault, you know. So for me, it's just a matter of stopping and going, okay, the business is the business. It's not going to change. And with software, I did that. You know, we'd have meetings to have meetings about meetings, and it's a matter of nobody's going to tell you or structure your day when you're a business owner. You are fully 100% responsible to do it yourself. So I'm still learning that, but better than I was last year, and I'll be better than I am next year this time. So.
And she's a hell of a bartender, by the way.
Yeah, she's learning the ropes, man.
Your daughter, your wife.
No, they're not old enough yet.
Yeah, my daughter just ends up giving everything away. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Ordering from her from now on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we know when to go.
Yeah.
What are the questions?
When it comes to beer, because beer in Austin is huge, right?
Becoming huge, yeah.
How do you separate yourself in that crowded market as you find yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at that initially, and it very much, when I started this, Texas was a very, you know, relative, if you go to the Denvers, the Portlands, it's very much it's a wide open market. Now, in the last 2 years, and since I started, it's blown up, and we're on the outskirts, but Austin itself, I mean, you'll have, I want to say it's going to be it's like 40% more breweries year over year, and South Austin is just getting on every corner. So we're not exactly in that hyper local scene, but you know, it's like I was saying before, our focus is to stay small, focus on our hyper local market, and because my whole goal with this was not outside of beer, it was to be a part of the community, and you know, where I said, you know, I love your passion and stuff. Eventually, I want to get to the point. You know, we took part in as many charities as I feel like we could have last year. I know I'm venturing off a little bit from your question, but you know, we're kind of building a personality. So I don't necessarily worry about the competitive market. I pay attention to it a lot. I mean, especially coming from software in a big marketplace. But you know, you'll see breweries close, and you'll see a saturation of the market, and you'll see, you know, that might be 5 years, that might be 8 years, that might be 2 years. I don't know, but I initially did not want to get involved in the volume game, so that's why we're just getting on the store shelves now. You know, shelf space is like oceanfront property; it's limited. If you want to fight that ball game for very slim margins, have at it. We're not going to make any money on cans. That's a brand play. So it's more for me to put my product on the shelf. And if you don't want to come to my tap room, you can go to your barbecue and buy my cans. So, you know, for us, it's all about kind of sticking within our personality. I pay attention to what the other breweries are doing, but we're pretty unique in what we're doing. Not that nobody's ever thought of it before, but I mean, that's what we're doing, and I'm not going to venture off of that. I'm not going to be, I know, you know, AB InBev, Budweiser is buying up all these breweries. I really have no aspirations of that. So I know some people say that at one point, and then the money comes and they'll go and grab it, but, you know.
Can you sell canned beers out of your?
We can, yeah. So in Texas, there's a distinction. There's 2 licenses. You can be a brew pub or a manufacturing tier brewery. We're a brew pub. The main thing about that is that we can sell beer to go. So if you come, you know, we have these 32-ounce cans that we can up right there. In a manufacturing tier brewery, which is like a Austin Beer Works, it's actually a high percentage of the breweries are manufacturing tier. Even if they have a tap room, that doesn't dictate their license. You cannot go in there, buy a can of beer, and take it to go. So
Does that one come with a paper sack?
I can make that happen.
Well, if I can just speak to the essence of what you just said, which is I'm sticking to my vision, my plan, and I'm not going to venture off from that. And I think that kind of goes back to what you were asking about, Rashawn. You know, how do you manage that time? And and I've got I get people that ask me to do this or this or this. And when you're hungry, you need to pay the bills, it's tempting to go off and do that. I've really got to try to keep my focus on the core and who my ideal client is, or clients, or areas, and that shifts sometimes, but and then you can set your boundaries better. Then you can go, okay, this is what I'm all about, and you can eliminate this, and then I have to make appointments for my personal life, because if I don't write it on my calendar, like you said, you can just keep on working, and I'm a recovering workaholic, so I know better than that.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of venturing off topic, but our March growth hit at probably the most stressful time. I mean, you can never raise enough cash in a business, and all of those cliches, but it was. I mean, our business was getting to the point where it was frustrating, because to follow your vision and be stubborn in that, and you have to be stubborn in it, is we were getting to that point where it's like I started to feel it more, like laser eyes going, hey, maybe we should expedite, going into cans, maybe we should change this whole model. And I'm going, no. I mean, we're sticking to, we fill this tap room, and we, create events, we do the things we set out to do well, we'll do it. And, I mean, I have a lot of faith too, and I credit my faith with a lot of it, but, it was getting to that stress point, that really sticking to your personality is more than just saying you're going to stick to your personality. And that's kind of goes back to your question of, from a common consumer, it might not look like we're a totally different brewery, but to me, we're way different than what Austin Beer Works are doing and other places are doing. Yeah, we're selling the same product and doing all that, but I mean, we're kind of sticking to it. Unfortunately, now we're expanding, we're talking about the good stuff, but it could have easily been the other way around. That goes back to you got to learn to accept failure first.
But you also did it right, just focusing on the quality too.
Yeah, I mean, we won't sacrifice that, and I'm very stubborn in that too. And beer is a very, again, beer tastes the same to a lot of people. I get that, but when you're in craft beer, it's a luxury product, and we take extreme pride in our beer. We're very inefficient with the way that we do it for a reason. That's what differentiates us, and we got to stick to that. But the reason we took so long to get on the store shelves is because that is a whole different cost center, a whole different ball game. You're dealing with quality control. I have to staff employees for that. But once that beer leaves my door, I don't know where it's going. I don't know if HEB sits in the back of the warehouse. It takes a week. Kegs do the same thing. So when I sell to a bar or restaurant on tap, I deliver a keg, I specify, put it in your cooler right away. I will not have somebody, because beer heats up, it tastes different. I also don't know when somebody's tapping it. If they bought a keg 3 months ago and they just tapped it after 3 months, well, I don't want you tapping that beer. It tastes different. If it's an IPA, the hops are reduced. So, I mean, there's a lot of quality concerns that's the reason that I'm growing the way that I'm growing. And it's very, I don't want to compromise with that, because at that point I'm just doing something.
Well, something that all three of you guys hit on. But I'm sorry, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to kind of challenge you on this a little. You made a comment. Yeah, you can get on the HEB shelf, but then you got to put in the preservatives. You got to change the recipe. You made the recipe. The comment, you stick to your guns on the quality and remain small. And I understand that, and it sounds well and good, but by the same token, if it's purely just about the quality and not at all about profit motive, no offense, you're not selling at cost either.
Yeah.
There is the business aspect. You are in business to make a profit as well. So kind of how do you guys balance those two? I mean, yeah, you love what you do and you got a passion for what you do. But if you can't make any money at it, you're not going to keep doing it long. So how do you?
My brain.
We're all there for money. You know what I'm saying?
Keeps you occupied, right?
You know what I'm saying? We're all there for profit motive. Profit motive is a motive. It's a reason you go into business.
I mean,
how do you find that balance?
I'll just say really quick. So that was my reason for a business plan, and why I go back and I do the business plan exercise every 3 months, and believe me, it drastically changes. But a business plan for me was about that exact scenario. How do I stick to my guns and stay small and be profitable?
Right.
With beer, your margins slip, your operating costs go up very quickly. So for me, I know that I can stay small and be profitable. There is a way. So, not to give away all my secrets, but every brewery that you go to, and I got frustrated at our craft brewers conference this year because that's like the highlight of my year. Is going there. It's a huge trade show. I can find new vendors, competitive prices, good seminars. Everything was focused on growth. And I'm going, well, what if I don't want to grow? Because there's an old saying in the beer industry that if you're growing, you're not making money. It's extremely true. You spend every dollar you make. So for me, there's that point, right? So for us, it's 3,000 barrels. If I hit 3,000 barrels, I can control my operating costs. I don't have to staff anymore. I'm not in this constant, I need to hire more people, I need to buy more beer, I need to do all this. I'm controlled at that point and I'm profitable. I don't need to go, well, next month we're gonna go here. I'm fine with just having that leveling off point and going, okay, now let me just work on getting my operating costs down and I'll increase my margin that way instead of looking at it the other way around. It's volume, 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 it's growth.
So I mean, but you really thinking that it's a black or white, it's an either or, it's kind of a continuum. And again, once you start to slide on that continuum,
no, I don't think it's black and white.
That's
for me it is because that's what I'm
sure
hard coded in my business.
Yeah.
Food industry is very much different than creating an iPhone app.
Sure.
There's a lot of friends that do that. For example, if I want to get my better prices, I need to order 750 pounds. Well, I'm not making that much caramel yet. So, and I was supposed to have my wrapper set up in the fall, which all this other thing went down. So I actually had to bring on, 5 or 6 more kids to help wrap to get through the holiday. Because my wife's like, you gotta get through the holiday season. You just gotta keep wrapping. I'm like, I'm so stressed. Are you kidding me? And so it was just like, she's pushing me down in the water. I'm like, geez, Mom. You're my partner. You get down here. It's like that kind of thing. But it's tough. So I think I've also heard you got to give a business 5 years. I hope that's true because I'm 2.5 years into it, and I'm hoping that the next 2.5 years I'll be profitable. So I'm not profitable. I'm we've put a lot of money for the brand to dial things in and whatnot. So I think I'm trying to be patient. I make sure I have time for my kids. I want to play tennis with them and help them with some certain games. So I think it's really taking that time out and finding that balance because kids do take a lot of time.
Yeah, they do. And my number one goal this year is to be profitable. And my profit margin on my move management business is pretty good right now. Well, now that I'm hiring a manager, I'm doing W-2 employees, that's going to shrink as I continue to step away personally from that side of the business. That profit margin will continue to decrease. And the only thing I can look at, now this is my stress point this year in that transition, is going, okay, can I manage that and spin this plate over here fast enough that it will make up for that and I'll go there, and then what's the overhead? What if I reach my goal of selling 1,000 kids? Or what if I get a corporate account that says, hey, we have 10,000 people moving in, and why don't you just, so that would be that's my dilemma. So it's a really good question and something that
I think about it all the time.
Yeah, balancing the passion and the profit.
Well, that said, we're at 1:30, so I wanted to thank all 3 of you, all 4 of you actually, for that amazing piece of hard work on top of that. That's great. So, thank you all for coming out. Really appreciated the just raw nature of it and just being here and sharing your story. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hope everybody enjoyed.
Can I get a